Paid ads do work. It's just a matter of, can you have the tenacity and the long-term vision to see it out over a long time span? This entire thing is a process. It could be working now, but in a couple months, it may not work. But that doesn't mean that ads don't work. Ads work, right? It's a matter of the combination of the offer, the creative, the positioning, the timing, the targeting. It's just like a matter of figuring out, putting all the puzzle pieces together. I think there's this temptation to just like throw up your hands and say, paid ads don't work for me. Things are going to break when you scale. That doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to scale. It's just a matter of like, you need to figure out the root cause at that next level.
What sorts of things are sponsorable?
A lot of people think that it's like, oh, a sponsored Instagram post or YouTube video or podcast episode. Those are all kind of the normal things that you could sponsor. But so many of my clients have in-person events, or they have online communities, or they have courses. People are getting modules within their courses sponsored. You're only limited by your own creativity, I think.
If you've ever wondered what it's like to have a Facebook and Instagram ads agency run your ads and why you would do so in the first place, my guest today, Justin Moore, he does have an agency running his ads, and he's going to share with you an ad funnel that's working. And he'll also share with you a $100,000 brutal learning mistake that was having ads run to a webinar funnel. The good news is that he has a funnel that's working, and it's for his book. So I should share that with you now. Justin Moore is a sponsorship coach who has generated over $5 million in brand partnerships. As both a full-time creator since 2014 and a former influencer marketing agency owner, he brings a unique insider knowledge of how brands evaluate and select their ideal partners. Through his school, community, and latest book, Sponsor Magnet, Justin shares proven frameworks for attracting, pricing, and executing lucrative brand deals. With a mission to help creators big and small land 1 million paid sponsorships. And small known fact, but Justin, you helped me when I was actually reaching out to someone for a sponsorship, and the advice was so good. And your book, as we can see in your background, I've heard lots of people say great things about the book, and I've seen you all last year as you were going on a book tour. Welcome to the episode, Justin.
Thanks, man. I'm so stoked to be here. Repeat guest, right? I could say I've got the honors of that, and so I feel privileged, man. I'm excited to chat through what's working and also what hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And those 2 episodes are going to be linked in the description below. But your last time you were here, you talked about how to secure paid partnerships and grow your revenue. And it was like a double feature, because you also, in a separate episode, talked about, it was called Making Six Figures, Teaching Creators How to Get Sponsorships. And both of those episodes were a delight.
Yeah, man, it's definitely been a journey, and it's like you said, I was on the book tour last year, and this year I've slowed down a little bit because it's actually interesting, and maybe we could talk about this a bit. That like the power of writing a book has allowed me to get into a lot of different pockets of kind of this industry that maybe were not accessible to me before. And so rather than having to go travel everywhere and be at every conference and speak on every stage, the book has done that for me to a large degree. So that's kind of interesting.
Really? You wanna just share a little more about that now that you've sparked my curiosity?
Yeah. Well, I think that for a long time, I thought all of this amazing free content that I was creating on the internet would do that job, right? The free YouTube videos, the free podcast episodes, the free newsletters, the blog posts, all that stuff. But what I actually found was that a lot of the potential clients that I felt as though I could serve were not watching my YouTube videos. They were not on my newsletter. They were not really interested in sponsorships in that way. They were more interested in just kind of growing their business, growing their audience. But like sponsorships was just always this kind of tangential thing that they never really gave much thought to. But interestingly, those people were very interested in like picking up this content format, which was a book, whether it's, listening to it on the audiobook or just picking it up on vacation or reading it on the beach or something like that. The content format of reading a book, for some reason was really what allowed me to kind of break through into that audience. And largely it was the type of creator or entrepreneur who wouldn't call themselves an influencer, actually. Because if you think about influencers, like, YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrammers, whatever, like brand deals is a big part of like a primary revenue stream for them. That's like, oh yeah, of course, I'll do brand deals on my social media. But if you are a coach or you're an author or you're a course creator or you run a community or you have an in-person event or something like that, you're making money in other ways. You're selling things directly to your clients, your customers, et cetera. And so sponsorships is always kind of like a secondary or tertiary revenue stream. And so those are the folks who I can really help a lot. And so again, they wouldn't call themselves an influencer, and so sponsorships wasn't top of mind. And so the book had a really interesting impact in that regard.
It's interesting you say that, because it's absolutely true. Sitting in circles and having, at least at the time of the recording of this video, just returned from KIT's conference in Boise, I would say, yeah, so many coaches, and myself included as a service provider, people with podcasts, if you will, YouTube channels that are running an online business, we don't necessarily think, oh, I'm going to monetize the podcast. Maybe we think of it as like an attraction vehicle or a vehicle to spread our knowledge and warm up clients. But monetize? Monetize the email list? Yeah, it's a new thought for many of us, I feel like.
Right. Totally. Why can't you double dip? That's my philosophy.
Why not? Why not? I don't know. I just thought of that ice cream brand, Dippin' Dots, because I got 2 young kids and they love that ice cream brand. Which, could you even call it ice cream? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a crowd favorite, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about your ads before we go into your successful funnel, because you had mentioned before we hit record that you were excited about that. Ooh, I'm loving the podcast voice that I have going on now. After I traveled all day yesterday and I'm a bit tired, it's like that deep, raspy voice. Hopefully the mic is picking it up. But you were excited because you have an ads funnel that's working quite well to sell your book, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So I want to cover that. But first, let's talk about your mindset around ads. Specifically, why would you even choose to explore running ads for your business? Like, what kind of thoughts and fears and hopes went into that? And then we'll talk about your $100,000 learning process that you said was brutal when you were running ads to a webinar. And finally, we'll land on the book ads funnel that you're doing now that is working.
I think the reason, so I didn't run paid ads for a long time. So first of all, my wife and I have been creators for 16, 17 years. Started a YouTube, my wife started her first YouTube channel in 2009. So like we've been doing this a really long time. But it wasn't until, let's say, about 6 years ago that I started educating people and doing what I call sponsorship coaching. And even for the first, let's say 3 or 4 years of that, I didn't do any paid ads. It was all organic. It was all through my newsletter, YouTube channel, and all that. So everything was kind of like inbound. But really my philosophy when it comes to teaching creators how to get brand partnerships, it's, hey, you can't sit on your hands and wait for brands to come to you. You have to be out there, doing outreach, supplementing your inbound opportunities with outbound. Any good business owner knows, let's pretend you're like a brick and mortar shop, right? Like you can't just rely on the people walking by your physical location. You have to advertise, you have to market, you have to write, you got to go put your ad in the penny saver or put it on billboards and bus benches in your local metro or something, right? And so it's the same philosophy with my business. And I think I ultimately realized, like, I can't, yeah, it's great to rely on inbound, but at the same time, as we talked about at the top of the episode, like there's lots of people who I feel like I can impact and serve, but they're just not stumbling down the rabbit hole or coming across my content. And so paid advertising is a method for me to reach them. And so that was the reason why I decided to even go down this road. But like, one of the reasons why I decided to hire a consultant or an outside agency to help me in this regard is because I have no idea what I'm doing, right? I'm always of the philosophy that if I can shortcut the path to really, have an impact and get to the outcome that I'm hoping for, much rather I would hire someone who's been there, done that. And so from the beginning, I was never interested in like learning it to do it myself, to be honest.
This makes me think of the reasons why we absolutely should cherish and value reading a book, specifically your book. It's leveraging your 17 years of experience all into one book that we could consume in 1 week and learn from your wisdom. And like you said, it's a shortcut. It really is a shortcut past all the mistakes that I would make by myself. And also having that compressed, let's say, roadmap to success. It's a huge shortcut. And ads is the same way when you're hiring somebody to do it for you.
100%, dude. My first foray into paid ads, as you mentioned, was trying these. Well, let's take a step back. So, one of the reasons I was hesitant to do paid ads to begin with, because I didn't know what I would run ads for. I had a live cohort-based course that I was teaching for many years that I would teach 3 times a year. And I was like, basically like I had an open cart for basically 10 days each time I would, run that cohort. And so I was like, how am I going to like run paid ads just for these like 10 days? That feels really hard. Like, I don't so I'm only going to be running paid ads for 30 days out of the year. Like that doesn't seem like worthwhile to even invest in a strategy like that. But when what happened was that I actually had a student of my course go through it completely on her own. She had her own kind of newsletter business that she wanted to get sponsorships for, but she basically approached me after the cohort was over, and she said, "Hey, this was really good. I feel like you could have a much larger impact on people if you were able to turn this into an on-demand course rather than doing this live every time." And I was like, you know what, let's talk. And so she was the first one who really helped me see the light of like how I could turn this live course into something on demand. And so that was what ultimately led me down the path of like, okay, well, like let's have an evergreen webinar. Let's run ads to the webinar. Let's sell this kind of on-demand version of the course. And I really credit her for being able to turn the course into something evergreen. However, the paid ads funnel from the get-go was really, really tough, man. It was, I did the webinar live, to kind of prove out the offer and prove out the kind of the pitch 5 or 6 times. And then once we got to a place of the webinar that we felt like it was good, turned it into something recorded. And like, it kind of worked. Let's say that it kind of worked. I basically broke even. I spent $100,000 or maybe a bit more over about a year doing this strategy. And I basically broke even over that time. And the learning at the end of it was that it was just really hard to consistently find enough pockets of the right persona who was interested in this offer. And there's a lot of learnings. Like the price point maybe was a bit too difficult for cold audiences. We later lowered it and found some success, but like at the end of the day, I kind of washed my hands of it and decided that like I just don't think this is not going to be the 3, 4, 5x ROAS outcome that I was hoping it would to kind of print basically. And so basically just abandoned it after about a year and a half.
Really? And that funnel was ads to a registration for an evergreen webinar.
It was to an evergreen. Well, it was to a live webinar to test out the offer and the positioning, and then ultimately it was recorded.
100K aside, which one does not easily just brush 100K aside. At least you're saying that you did break even. I did want to touch upon though something that is super important that I see with my clients too, which is okay, you broke even. It wasn't the 5x, as your words were, return on ad spend that you were hoping for, but how many people did you add to your email list?
I mean, it's a great point. Like, probably over that time, close to 10,000 probably. And, people to the list. And so like, yeah, you could say I acquired those for free technically, right? Because I basically broke even on the whole funnel. The other really, I think, important outcome of this process was that it helped me clarify my offer stack, my offer ladder, basically, because I one of the reasons why I ultimately wrote the book, and this is probably a whole, we could do a whole episode in this probably, is that I saw the impending AI, the proliferation of all these LLMs. And, my philosophy is like, over time, information is going to be free. And so I think courses in general, I know a lot of people in the course space that like courses, the kind of course enrollments, course registrations, purchases has been on the steady decline over the last, 5 years or so. And so I decided to basically open source the course in the book by writing the book. And so I basically took all the good stuff from the course and I put it in the book. And so I decided that like, actually my business model, which I think is going to be the most effective way I could serve clients, is coaching. And so I decided to take the business model and kind of cannibalize my own course revenue by writing the book. Yeah, I mean, basically, I decided to, I guess, kind of cannibalize my own course business by writing the book, knowing that my coaching program was going to become the signature offer. And so, again, I think with anything in business and entrepreneurship, like the place that you arrive is never going to be the end state, or the journey is constantly evolving. And so this is what ultimately led me to the business I have today.
We'll get back to the episode in a moment, but listener, I would be doing you a disservice if I did not let Justin talk to you himself about his book. I've looked at it. You should definitely read it.
Well, if you're someone who has grown an audience, maybe you have a podcast or a YouTube or a newsletter, and you're primarily trying to market your own products, your own coaching, your own courses, your own communities, your own books, whatever, and you've never really thought, hey, maybe I could actually monetize this. I could double dip. It would be sweet to be able to get some sponsorship, some brand deals on these assets, where I could talk about other tools, other products, or other software programs, in addition to serving my clients. Well, then I definitely think you would find a lot of value from my new book, Sponsor Magnet. If you've listened to this episode, we're just scratching the surface of how I help you learn how to attract, price, and execute your dream brand partnership. So you can pick it up at sponsormagnet.com.
All right. Thanks, Justin. And back to the episode. It's interesting that you point out the arrival of AI and it's always improving, and how you made a calculated decision, looking into your crystal ball and also asking people and seeing that course sales would decline because knowledge would just become proliferated and free. And you decided to have a book, even though knowing that would kind of cannibalize your course sales. I see the same thing happening right now, at least in the ad space, though. Although all the LLMs can connect to Meta and people can manage their ads and even ask AI for insight, so far it's just absolutely destroying people's ads, minus the highlight videos that you'll see on YouTube, which I wonder what those people aren't sharing who say like, I made 10x ROAS with Claude and Meta, but that is something that is always on our minds. I wanted to circle back to, you did add 10,000 people to your email list, and it's something that I usually say to clients. Usually we're talking about expectations of what it would be like to work with me, but I say like, even if they don't have like a low ticket offer funnel that is actively generating return on ad spend because they're selling something on that first initial touch point with ads, they are growing their email list if they'll take my advice and run ads to grow their email list. And a healthy business normally pays for leads because the business can turn those leads profitably into sales further down the line after nurturing them on the email list. And so what would you say about that?
100% agree. I mean, I think that I have a very robust email or newsletter strategy. I think the people who don't like that advice, I think, is people who only email their list when there's a launch, right? I've always been super conscious of like nurturing, I send out an email twice a week, and I have for almost 6 years now, haven't missed a week. And so like, it's something I'm consistently doing all the time because I it's that whole Gary Vee thing. I'm just like constantly jab over many, many, many years. And I think that that's an important part of the nurturing process. So like, yeah, growing the list is really not going to be super effective if you're not doing that level of nurturing. But if you are, then you should be equally tickled about getting 10,000 people on your list, knowing that, I mean, I think I had someone join my coaching program recently that's been on my list for like 4 years. So it was just like, it was just the right time and they finally jumped in. And so 100% agree. Like that was a huge, beautiful outcome of this as well.
Were there any benefits to, like, let's say, improving your messaging over that time that you were running the ads to the webinar funnel?
For sure. I mean, again, like the place that I am today is the result of hundreds of iterative messaging decisions that I've made, not just for the ads, but for the clarifying the offer, just like the business overall, how I'm talking about the business, how I'm talking about our offer stack. Everything is like born out from, trying to just improve the efficiency of these ads and conversions and all that. And so, man, if I look at, when I first started the ads to like where I am today, I know so much more about the persona, about what hooks are resonating, and this has also improved my organic content too, because if I know what's performing well in ads, then I can be better informed about what types of podcast episodes I'm choosing, what people want to hear about and learn about. And so I think the marriage of both the organic and ads from informing your content strategy is huge.
Yep. There's nothing like paid cold traffic to test out and prove like what messaging is resonating the most and is working. Disclaimer though, you're listening to this podcast right now, and I don't want you to say, QUÄY.jo said run ads to test my messaging. Please do not. Please do not do that. Figure out your messaging organically and then run ads, because using ads can test messaging really well, but it's going to cost you quite a bit of money.
I'll actually talk about that when I talk about the paid book funnel, because we actually did run ads to test messaging in a very interesting way. So I'll share a bit more about that, little teaser for later in the episode.
All right. Well, I feel like we could naturally transition into the book funnel now, but I need to share just a quick disclaimer that I always share on these episodes, or at least I'm trying to share, which is that Facebook and Instagram ads is not guaranteed money from heaven. It's not a get rich quick scheme. In fact, the only thing I can guarantee is that you'll spend money and you'll learn, as long as you understand that failure happens. And if you learn from the failure and continue to test, it's through that iteration and that testing that eventually you can make money. But this is just for educational purposes or entertainment purposes, if you will. Although I am an ads manager with experience, I am not your ads manager, and everything that you hear from Justin and me should be filtered through the lens of what's working for your business, your own messaging, your own funnels, and just be aware that knowledge applied is how you learn, but knowledge applied has to be with wisdom. It's not just blindly applied to anyone's business, including yours. So with that being said, I am now curious to dive into your working funnel, which is a book funnel, and it sells Sponsor Magnet. Can you tell us the goal of the funnel first before you dive into the nitty gritty of the funnel?
So let's set up some context. So I've sold close to 10,000 copies of the book organically, like to date. Thank you. I self-published the book, or kind of hybrid published it, and so super happy with the outcome just from an organic perspective. And I, we've talked about that on prior episodes about kind of what that whole process looked like. But like, I have a lot of social proof that the book is very effective, right? This is social proof on Amazon. This is social proof. I have hundreds of videos of people sharing on Instagram stories about their outcomes of the book, and people DMing me. And so, one of the reasons why I decided to kind of go down this path of trying out a book funnel is that on easily 80 or 90% of our sales calls for my coaching program over the last, let's say, year, when people have said, "How did you find out about Justin?" they say the book. 80 or 90% of people on the sales calls. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, clearly people are reading this book, which which actually, frankly, has the entire playbook, right? You could do it yourself. And lots of people have done it myself, but they read the book and they think, okay, this is either too overwhelming and I just need someone in my corner to help me implement this. Or they run up into a tricky negotiation and they think, okay, I was doing this fine myself, but now I'm out of my league. I don't know how to navigate, or it's a very high stakes deal. It's like, 5 figures, 6 figures, this type of thing. And I need someone in my corner. And so my thought process was like, okay, clearly the book is doing something right in terms of attracting the ideal clients that we want to actually support in the coaching program. And so what can I do to juice that? How can I put my thumb on the scale to get the book in more hands? And so this is ultimately why I decided to pursue this. From the beginning, I didn't want to give the book away though for free, because there are versions of the book funnel where it's like, you get the free, book, you pay for shipping and handling or whatever for the paperback. But I've done some other various kind of low ticket challenges over the years. And every time I do like a free version of that versus like a paid version of that, the quality of the people who participate, just the like engagement rate, the show up rates, like it's just like way worse when it's when people are just getting a free ticket to join something. Not that it can't work, but I don't know. I haven't found much success with doing the free challenge thing, free workshop thing. And so I decided that I wanted to charge at least something for the book. And so the current version of the funnel that we're running, which is seeming to be very successful, it's a $1. You pay $1 to get access to the audiobook. And if you want to, there's basically a one-click upsell to add the ebook and the paperback on the squeeze page, basically. And then the moment that someone purchases, the next page is basically an application. It's like, hey, like click here to see if you're eligible for a free strategy session with my team. And it basically asks questions to qualify the lead. Like, have you done brand deals before? Have you negotiated a brand deal in the last 30 days? Have you, what's your, last 12 months sponsorship revenue, last 12 months overall revenue, and just like ask some questions about their experience, their following, their level of experience, all that. And then we have a logic on the back end, depending on how they answer, to either immediately show a calendar page to book a call with my team, or we say, hey, we need a bit more time to review your answers, and then we'll get back to you. And then we like kind of manually review certain applications. And the leads, the funnel so far is crushing right now, dude. Like it's way more leads than we were expecting, and at a way lower price than cost that we were expecting. And to what I was alluding to earlier, we ran. I want to give a shout out to Stacy on my team, who I've partnered with to do this strategy. We ran a bunch of ads testing headlines first. Very low cost. I can't remember. It was a couple hundred ads to test which things were resonating based on a lot of customer research that we've done over the years. And then we found a bunch of winners based on those ads that we ran, and then we used a lot of that copy for the landing page, basically. And we tried several different types of creative. We tried image ads, we tried video ads, but the ads that are working really, really well right now are testimonial ads. These are just, I've been collecting these videos of people saying how the book has helped them over the years, and we kind of edited them together into a supercut. And that's what's performing really well right now.
Nice. Of course, being the ads manager I am, I'm a little curious to go back through this funnel. So you said the landing page is $1 to buy the audiobook. That's first, right?
Correct.
And then there's a one-click upsell. So that would be after they pay $1.
No, it's before they pay $1. It's on the checkout page that there's like a one-click, hey, if you want to add the paperback and the ebook. It's not like a separate page. It's like on the checkout page.
Gotcha. So more like an order bump, if you will.
Order bump. Did I say upsell? Yeah, order bump. Exactly.
Pre-purchase. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
what? You don't live and breathe ads all day long?
Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. So one-click order bump to buy the ebook and what was that?
The paperback.
And the paperback. Okay. So what is the price on that order bump?
$14.95.
I am curious, and this might have to be for a later after we stop like recording. if the number isn't in front of you, because I didn't prep you for this, but I wonder what percentage of people that get the $1 audiobook also get the ebook and the paperback.
I could tell. I mean, I was running the numbers. It's almost 50% right now.
50, 50. That's really good. That's really good. So I usually, for context here, is although we're talking more, I guess, high level and mindset around ads, there is something that I routinely see on low ticket offer funnels, which I'm going to generalize and call yours a low ticket offer funnel too, where we're running ads directly to something that's, let's say, costs less than $37, is that you absolutely have to have an order bump to be breaking even. And you do want to see at least 20% uptake on that order bump to know that it's pretty healthy. So you have 50% of the people go ahead and like getting that order bump. That's actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like um, I don't know. I think the copy on the page is kind of funny too. It's very much my personality. Like I basically say on there, I'm like, I could give this to you for free, but if I give it to you for free, you're not going to read this. So I'm charging you $1, like stuff like that, and it's like very much my personality. And so I have other kind of jokes on the page about why you'd want to like, pick up the other formats and stuff. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to like lean into my own personality a bit too. And again, like the other thing I think that's interesting about this is that I do have a pretty robust organic brand. So like when people are seeing this ad in their feed, oftentimes, I mean, what do you do when you see an ad in your feed? You click the handle. You click the handle, you look at the profile, like, oh, is this person legit? And I'm posting stuff every single day on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And so I think another part of this is that like people can see that I'm legit, right? They go on my profile, they see the videos I'm posting, and they're like, okay, this guy's legit. I see him in other posts holding up his book and stuff. So yeah, if I like, do this order bump, like I'm actually going to get the book in my hands. This is a real thing.
Yeah. It's funny little side story. I just for the month of May, so we just got back, my family and I were in China. We kind of returned there. We were visiting friends, visiting the school we used to go to, the church we used to go to, everything. But it was the first time that my kids had been, it's just the first time we all had been back to China since we got stuck out of China on that vacation that happened to have happened 2 weeks before COVID started. And then we've been here in Mexico the whole time, right? Uh, the guy that we stayed with, his family, he vibe coded a product called Recall Grid that helps you. It's like Chinese flashcards, basically, flashcards to learn Mandarin Chinese. Justin, get this. He was running ads to this thing and getting like almost 3x ROAS. But when I looked at it, because the context is he was like, hey, QUAY.jo, you're staying with me. Could you help me look at these ads, right? And I'm like, sure, why not? First of all, he was selling it for like 80-ish dollars, right? Second of all, he had no Instagram profile created, and the only thing that he had was a Facebook business page, but he did nothing to the business page. So when you would look at the business page, there wasn't even a header at the top. It was just a black empty space at the top of his Facebook business page. He had 0 posts on the page at all. So the only thing that it actually shows, and I didn't know this, but like when you don't do anything with your business page and it's just completely blank, it will show like somebody who follows you. And the one little profile picture of one person, like out of like 60 that followed his page, was like this dude who just looked sketch. And I'm like, and he's running ads at 3x ROAS. I think actually it was like at 3.4x ROAS. Which just goes to show if you have a strong offer,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
people will buy it because his ads were running, and the ads were they were they were of lower production value. Let's just say that.
Right, right. Well, I mean, that's another funny thing is that I'm always someone who's like my organic content brain. I want things to be super high quality. And Stacy, I was joking about this because she kind of threw together some creative that like I probably wouldn't have. I would have wanted a little bit more polish on that, but it's working. So who cares, right? It's like it's just funny. Like it doesn't have to be super high quality to actually generate results.
And to that end, like, it really, as long as your personality is coming through, and maybe right now it's playing to your advantage that the creative, in your own words, is not super high quality, because what I'm seeing is organic feeling creative works. And there's like a few brands that have very, very, very polished creative, but in general, at least for my clients, we when we run video ads, it we're trying to make it look like it's like they posted an Instagram reel. It's not perfect. There are even little mistakes in there. Um, so tell me then, because I have never heard of this, but on the purchase confirmation page, if you will, there is a I was taking notes actually furiously because this is a really intriguing funnel. But on the purchase confirmation page, I wrote down that it has an application for a strategy call. What do you call that call? And is it free or is it paid?
It was free. So it's called a free sponsorship strategy session, I think is what we call it. And it's basically it's like, it's like what how a upsell page kind of generally looks. You've got the progress bar, like step 2 of 3 or whatever, and then it's got the strategy sessions there. So it confirms that your order was successful, and then fill out a few questions to see if you're eligible for a free strategy call, essentially.
But when you say strategy call, like, I know you're showing up and giving strategy, but it's strategy plus vetting or sales call for coaching.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Nice. All right. So then that's a very typical, once a qualified person hops on the call, you're giving them some value, but then you also, because of the questions that they filled out and whatever else you're saying on the call, you know that they could benefit from coaching. And so you're going to tell them about your coaching, right?
Exactly. Hmm.
I like this. Selling is serving. I don't think that I had heard about having a questionnaire there and not saying that anyone could hop on the call, but it totally makes sense because your time is valuable and you don't just want anybody to hop on the call. You want the people who it would truly benefit to be on a call with you.
The interesting stat about the data that we're seeing come through so far is that about 70% of the leads are qualified for one of the two offers that we have, and 30% are not at all. So, for the 30% that aren't, they don't see the calendar, but the other 70% do. And so, it's pretty interesting, at least, to see that, like, at least in the early data, that such a large percentage of the leads are actually a good fit for something.
And at the beginning of this episode, you talked about how the mindset around ads is just like with sponsorships, you need outbound marketing. I remember the first time somebody really drove this home. They're like, "What is your?" Maybe it was several years ago, and I forget who or where I heard it, but they were asking like, "Well, what's your primary job as the business owner?" And people were giving all sorts of questions like, deliver a great product, or deliver a great coaching experience, or help this or that. And they're like, no, 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 your primary job is to sell and to sell and to sell. And your secondary job is to sell. So when I see you doing this, I'm guessing you're spending a good amount of time on calls. Like, how many hours a week would you say you're on calls with folks?
So I'm not on calls at all right now. I have folks taking calls for me. So that is very nice. um, because yeah. So I've taken I did take calls in the beginning, but it very quickly devolved into very long free coaching sessions, and that began getting pretty exhausting. And so I decided that I needed a separation between, like, who is actually facilitating these discovery sessions, and my team actually doing the coaching.
Wow. And so I'm sure all the issues happened, or let's say limiting mindset or limiting belief happened when you were about to make the jump from you not being on the call to your team. Like, if it's not me, are people actually going to sign up and buy? And who can deliver this call strategy and sales as good as me? And what other issues did you have? Or let's say limiting beliefs did you have around that? And what actually happened?
Well, the first limiting belief came when I started hiring other coaches. That was the first jump. Before I even did paid ads and all this, like, I did bring other sponsorship coaches and train them onto my team to do coaching on my behalf. That was the first limiting belief, is like, can other people do coaching in the same way that I do? And so that was the biggest hurdle. And then, yes, this next jump is like having someone else take calls on my behalf. The reality is that it actually was way better. It was way better to have someone else do it because, when people would delve into the territory on these sessions, asking for very specific advice of like, what do I do in this situation, whatever, the person taking the call would say, hey, you know what? I'm not a coach. That's exactly the type of question that our coaches can help you with in our program. And so it's way better to have someone that line of separation between the person doing the discovery session and, the people actually doing the facilitation.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. That's speaking from personal experience because I hop on my own discovery calls or sales calls, if you would, like the temptation is right there because we want to serve and help people. And then they'll ask a question and it's so easy just to give some advice right there on the call instead of saying, this is exactly what we covered during ads management.
Hiring the right person to take your calls, you can still serve them on the call. It's not like you're being like, oh no, I can't help you. Like, can't answer that. But it's more about how the depth that you're going, right? You can answer some kind of surface level questions to kind of give people some direction. And they may never choose to join the program, and that's fine. They'll still get value out of those calls. But again, for the people that want to go deeper, and actually need ongoing support. So it's not just about solving a problem that they acutely have right there. It's also helping them understand that like, hey, a brand could like pop in your inbox tomorrow and you're going to need support on that. It's not just about the issues that you're handling right now.
Right on. Right on. So this is where I ask you, what is something that you would tell somebody who is running their own ads successfully? Maybe they're spending around $2,000 a month in ad spend and it's working for their business, either that they're growing their email list, and then having an upcoming launch that's converting well, or they happen to be selling a lower ticket offer, under $37 profitably, but they're looking for the next step. They're looking to grow. What's something that you would say after all of your experience with Facebook and Instagram ads?
This entire thing is a process. It could be working now, but in a couple months, it may not work. But that doesn't mean that ads don't work. I think that I'm really proud of myself for like continuing to just like keep trying this because I knew like ads work, right? It's a matter of the combination of the offer, the creative, the positioning, the timing, the targeting. It's just like a matter of figuring out putting all the puzzle pieces together. And so I think there's this temptation to just like throw up your hands and say, paid ads don't work for me, or they're, I'm never going to be able to do them in a scalable way. And I think the jury's still out on even if this is scalable for me. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like paid ads do work. It's just a matter of like, can you have the tenacity and the long-term vision to see it out over a long time span, to know that like there's going to be ebbs and flows with the effectiveness of the strategy, and things are going to break when you scale, right? Just like when I scaled my coaching programs, things break. I went from like just serving my own clients to like now having a team of coaches and serving a much larger pool. Just things start breaking, and so I think if you're someone who things are kind of working right now and you start to try to scale and things break, that doesn't mean that you can't scale like you're never going to be able to scale. It's just a matter of like, you need to figure out the root cause at that next level.
Okay. All right. All right. What kept you in the game, so to speak? Because you said $100,000 spent on a webinar funnel, and that was brutal. And you did break even, but obviously your time went into that, and then all of the message testing. Like, what kept you coming back? Like, what was it? And maybe this was a conversation between, I don't know how you do your business decisions. Like, was your wife involved in the decision too? But you're now running a successful ad funnel. What made you want to try again?
Irrational optimism. Honestly, I constantly have to remind myself that like I'm not the only person who has ever had challenges with something like this, with any business problem. Like I'm not the first person that has ever had challenges with paid ads or something. I'm not the first person that has ever grown a coaching program and had like challenges associated with growing the team and challenging clients. And like, I'm not the first person ever to experience that. And so this is a solvable problem. That was always my mindset, is like, this can be solved. I just haven't yet figured out the right like pieces to put together. Sometimes it's like bringing the right people onto the team. Sometimes it's having the right offer. Like I finally decided like the book is the offer. The book is the thing that people clearly, it's the reason why they're like asking to get on a call organically about the coaching program. And so why am I messing around with all this other stuff, the low ticket challenges and the boot camps and like all the evergreen webinars and all this? Like, I've got the book now. This is a great asset. And the other thing too, is it's a very good prop in creative. Interestingly, right? So like you think about it, like being able to like hold this up and be like, this is a thing. And like, it's a physical thing that you can like acquire, not just for me, but also for other people in these like kind of testimonial style ads. I don't know. I think there's something special about the effectiveness of an ad when you can actually point to something like, hey, you can buy this thing right here, versus this like amorphous, like digital good,
Okay. Agreed. Nice. Well, again, the link to the sponsor magnet is in the video description of this YouTube video below. And can you quickly share what sorts of things are sponsorable that the listener might not have known that, oh, they could actually look for somebody to sponsor this? And then what words of encouragement would you share about those?
Yeah, great point. So real quickly, you mentioned the book URL is available in the description. I have the same funnel, this book funnel set up for the organic book. So if you want to pick it up at sponsormagnet.com, you will also go through a similar funnel if you actually want to see it in action. And so just wanted to mention that. But yeah, in terms of like what things are sponsorable, as I mentioned at the top, like a lot of people think that it's like, oh, a sponsored Instagram post or YouTube video or podcast episode. Those are all kind of like the normal things that you could sponsor. But so many of my clients have in-person events, or they have communities, online communities, or they have courses. People are getting modules within their courses sponsored, right? Because again, think about it. If you are someone who's giving actual advice about, let's say, how to grow your business or something, in the nature of teaching people, you're probably saying, hey, you should pick up, lead pages or Unbounce, or you should pick up XYZ, or you should pick up whatever, this tool X, here. Why not go to those brands and say, hey, I'm already recommending your tool. Let's figure out some sort of incentive that we can offer to my course students or my community or whatever. Bring your VP of R&D or marketing to do a guest session in my community, to expose my full audience to you and actually ask questions about how to use your tool. Like that is a sponsorable thing, right? And so I always say, like, you're only limited by your own creativity when it comes to getting sponsorships. Look, dude, I am working right now on getting my book sponsored. Think about getting a custom version of this book where it says the brand logo version of Sponsor Magnet that they can give away at trade shows, at events. They're like high value leads to customers as a retention holiday gift package or whatever. Put this version of the book in that care package. And so again, like, you're only limited by your own creativity, I think.
I love it. I love it when you start getting going. It's like all these ideas, and clearly they work, and you've seen it work in with clients. You've seen it work for yourself over the years. Like, it's just cool hearing somebody who has the skill, the expertise, and the passion talk about what they're truly passionate about.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I definitely, I could nerd out over this topic forever.
After hearing this, YouTube knows tons about what videos would help you grow your business, and it thinks you should tap or click on the video right there. And I think so too.